Michael Tessarian is an expert on the occult histories of Ireland and America. He has made the deepest researches into Atlantis, the origins of evil, and into the Irish origins of civilization. Michael is the author of Atlantis, Alien Visitation and Genetic Manipulation, and the producer and presenter of Origins and Oracles, a series exploring ancient mysteries and forbidden knowledge. Michael's book considers the consequences of extraterrestrial involvement and clarifies much of the disinformation concerning Atlantis, Lemuria, and the periods before that. Michael addresses the orchestrated chaos of modern times and reveals the true origins of the present political machinery, which seems to be bringing the world we live in to some tough times. As well as stating the problems, Michael furnishes us with the solutions to moral and social predicaments that have been beset of humankind of millennia. He is our guest on Coast to Coast. Hello, Michael. Welcome back. How are you?
Hi, George. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
That's good. Nice to be back.
You're coming in loud and clear, Mr.
Okay, glad to hear that.
Lots going on. You know, today I was looking at a story that was in the Chicago Tribune, which was part of a national story, a world story, that they have found a better look Japanese explorers of the Nazca lines in Peru. And I don't know if you stumbled into that or not. So many people still believe, Michael, that those lines may have been made for or by extraterrestrials, and it just fascinates me.
Isn't it amazing? Look at this discovery that they've made, Graham Hancock, recently off the coast of Ceylon under the ocean, where the whole continent of ancient Lemuria, they're seeing underground roads and underground temples. We have the Great Pyramid that was discovered recently in Serbia. You know, so all over the world, these anomalies are starting to be uncovered. And the Nazca lines, absolutely, those are definitely something that, you know, could only be seen from the air. So how do we explain that?
Well, you know, Michael, if we had to paint a picture of what this planet looked like 5,000 or 10,000 years ago, would it be dramatically different from the planet of today? Of course, we rule out the big buildings and things we have, but what do you think the planet looked like then?
Oh, I think it was incredibly different. We're talking, there's a big reason why, you know, people have tried, historians have tried to center civilization's origins about 7,000 to 11,000 years ago, because there's a desperate campaign to not have the human race just look back slightly before that, specifically around 13,500 years ago, when I believe there was a axial shift, if not an entire pole shift, then certainly a very significant shift. And that may mean many things geologically. That may mean that the oceans are recent arrivals to this planet. It may mean that whole continents were here that are not here, as Jim Allen and Graham Hancock and Michael Cremo and a lot of other scholars now from within academia are stating that this is, you know, more than likely. The people, you know, academics at the top of the totem pole now, my mind is specifically going to Allen and Dallaire from Oxford and Cambridge University, who have, you know, shattered these myths of Darwinism. We have Richard Milton. We have so many people from within the official establishment now at the top of the academic totem pole, within the subjects of geology and anthropology, confirming that something awesome, cataclysms of unimaginable proportions, happened on this planet in very recent times, George.
And I also think, Michael, that the inhabitants of this planet lots of years ago, thousands of years ago, had some pretty high technology that we might not even have today.
Well, you couldn't be more correct. And, you know, I go into this in my work as well, that as Zecharia Sitchin has shown in his Sumerian revelations, as scholars before him even knew from the Mahabharata and the Vedas of India, I have discovered in the Norse Edda of the Scandinavian people, and also in the Celtic records of my own country, that this the references to super technologies, not just to mental abilities, you know, very powerful mental abilities, but absolutely to super weaponry, the likes of which may not have been understood by our ancestors because, of course, they didn't have the technology that the ancients had. We are now building cryogenic chambers. We have cybernetics again, and we have, you know, these weapons of mass destruction. We're creating them again. We have all sorts of HAARP radiation, and now we can reread the ancient myths and realize, my goodness, so did they. The references are right there of these terrible weapons of ancient power and spacecrafts and flying ships and wars of the gods. It's in the ancient records.
You have talked about fallen angels, but you bring a different twist to it, Michael, a twist that I have not heard from anybody. Let's get a little bit of your description.
Well, you see, this this subject has always fascinated me, the whole concept of Atlantis, Lemuria, the idea that there was alien involvement on the planet Earth, and that there may have been a visitation of what the Bible and the ancient texts talk about as the fallen angels. My work, though, differs because I am not of the persuasion that I'm more in the, I am more in the line of the author William Bramley. He and I share a lot in common in the sense that we do not think that these involvements, and of course there's been many involvements of extraterrestrial beings in our planet, but the group that you're speaking of, that you've just mentioned, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, the Anunnaki, in my reading of it, they're not some benevolent big brother to humanity who's come here to set everything right. In my reading of it, these are people who interfered with the biology of the human being, and that the concept of evil, the concept of injustice and sadism and belligerence and the whole bloodlust that is in the human being actually has a date of birth, and that these proclivities of human beings date from the time of this intervention and in the transgenic experiments, which made a mess of the human being's psychic, moral, and biological makeup.
So you're saying that this bad seed that is in the human spirit, the humankind, was put in there accidentally or intentionally?
No, very deliberately. Very, very deliberately. The ancient texts like the Popol Vuh and all of these, annals of Ireland are talking about the belligerence of the gods, the fact that, it's like John Milton's Paradise Lost, where, in the words of Satan, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. These individuals wanted slaves. This is not my concoction. This is what the ancient legends are saying, that man was made, the Adamic man and the Eves were created necessarily to be a slave race, to serve the gods, so-called gods, because remember, there's a big difference. I mean, there's a big difference when we talk to tribal ancestors and we read their ancient legends. It's remarkable that when they talk about the Creator, we imagine that they're talking about God, and they're not. The term creator has been mistaken for the term God, but they're actually two different words. The ancients knew God, all right. They knew about the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the higher Spirit. But so when they're talking about creator, and that word has been mistranslated, so what I'm going to say has not been known. But they were talking about the creator of man as separate from the spiritual, component of the universe. And this also needs to be brought out, that the idea of the creator of man is a mechanic, an architect, a sort of a genetic scientist type of race, who had this sophistication, sort of similar to what we are understanding now, and either through some sort of bizarre cloning experiment or transgenic experimentation, and perhaps even the junk DNA. And I'm convinced, I am absolutely convinced, and people can mark my words on this, that within the next 10 years, we are going to have revelations about genetics and DNA, which is going to support the contentions of people like myself. I'm not the first to have mentioned this, but I am very fervently in belief that very soon all of us are going to discover things about the DNA, perhaps even about the so-called junk DNA, that confirms the picture of the past that has been, encoded into the great myths and legends of the world.
Now, explain that a little bit more, Michael. You're saying that science may find something that may give them or answer questions about what happened and how we were manipulated?
Yes, I do believe that very, very much so. I think they already have, if you really want my opinion, because, things like molybdenum, which is a very rare metal, it's a trace element, and it's in the physiology of all Earth creatures, and yet this is a very molybdenum-poor planet. There are so many anomalies that we can point to: the brain capacity of the Neanderthal, the transition to the Cro-Magnon, the rapid, like Lawrence Gardner and others have speculated, why is the incredible rapid development, especially technologically, of man in a short period of time when for millions of years he appeared to be primitive? This acceleration. So I think that the knowledge is already there. The information is already there. Scientists are very involved in this. People from MIT, CIT, they're looking into the behavior of man and seeing that he is not the same as the hominids. There's something remarkable. He stands out like a sore thumb. And we are now going to have to explain this and look at, and, have a reappraisal of what man is, and perhaps that there was some sort of interference into the natural organic nature of man, and I believe that this connects very strongly, as we've talked before on previous shows, about the philosophical question of evil, and that we need to address that this is not just something organic and natural to human beings. It has a date of birth.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And, but the good thing about it in a way is that once you have properly and correctly diagnosed the problem, then you are halfway to the solution. The idea may be fugitive and controversial, but if we at least have the right diagnosis of the problem, we're half.
Welcome to the Mysterious Stranger What's your name?
Satan.
Uh-oh.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Only it's sure a sorry name for an angel.
Please, come in.
Come on.
Amazing. It's like an island.
Did you see that? Mercy.
How do you learn to do that?
I didn't learn it at all. It comes naturally to me, like other curious things. Are you hungry?
Sure am.
What kind of fruit do you like the most?
Oranges.
Apples?
Grapes.
Ooh.
Huh?
Where'd he go?
What happened to him?
There. Oh, boy.
Can we help?
You may make some people.
I'll make the king and queen.
I'm gonna make a soldier.
Look at that little village.
There. Here's a buddy.
Now we'll give them life.
Moving.
Looks like my pap on Saturday night.
Wow.
Look, they're moving.
There's like regular people.
I find you humans quite interesting, even though you are a worthless, greedy lot. How annoying that sound is. Fools. What fascinations there are on this planet. Strange mortals with curious customs. We'll have a storm now, and an earthquake if you like. You must stand aside, out of danger. I can do no wrong, for I do not know what it is.
You murdered him.
Never mind them. People are of no value. We could make more sometime, if we need them.